Yesterday was a daddy-daughter dance. I was out living la vida loca, dancing the night away with my 2 young daughters, which is why I did not film this recap at 1 o'clock in the morning, but I am filming it now. On Sunday morning at 7 a.m. And overall, UFC Vegas 105 was a decent fight card. It wasn't spectacular, but it wasn't horrible. What it did do, though, is get us some money. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to recap the entire UFC Vegas 105 fight card. Bet-wise, we crushed. We crushed. And I'm going to have an arrogance about me. So if you don't like me to begin with, which for some reason, a lot of you, there was some fucking weirdo dork on Instagram, you know, anonymous username, no profile picture, you know, that kind of person, right? That when Jacob posted some story with me in it, he DMs Jacob, fuck that loser. I'm going to beat his ass. So I messaged him because, you know, fuck you. And I messaged him. And all I wrote was like, hey, dork. And this dude lost his mind. You motherfucker. Like, just lost his mind. That's the state of the world. So if you already don't like me, maybe because I talk too fast, I'm too tall, too good looking, I don't know why. If you already don't like me, you're going to hate me now because I'm feeling myself. I swept the board. I swept the board. Every single bet that I put out in the universe came back. All of them. No lost bets for the Angie boy. I did get refunded on the Davy Grant plus 3.5 because that fight was obviously canceled. We hit the Rhys McKee inside the distance decision, no action. We hit the Pedro Falcao plus 3.5, which was the best play. Bet Sam, you cuck. 1.25 units on that fucking guy. That bet hit. I had a parlay with Kennedy in it, so those odds adjusted, but that bet hit. The safety parlay hit, and that's a couple in a row. So yeah, I'm feeling myself because when you bring back a 75% ROI on what ended up being a pretty sketchy fight card, you feel pretty good about yourself. But we all did well. I crushed every single bet and the safety parlay. Jakey boy hit his underdog lock of the week, 8 of 10. That's 80% picking underdogs. Bet Sam hit his slam of the week, and I can't remember the last time he lost one of those. So yeah, your boys did their thing. And if you want to check out every single pick, bet tool that we have to offer for not only UFC 314, but an entire month, it's all updated, ready to go on the website right now. Just go to WeWantPicks.com. It's $10 for an entire month. And that month gives you access to everything. No weird tiers, one package, WeWantPicks.com. Here's a closer look at Jakey Boy's underdog lock of the week situation. This dude has hit 8 of 10. He is picking underdogs at 80%. And I will pause for dramatic effect. Most people can't pick fights at 50%. And not only is he picking dogs at 80%, he's finding some solid ones, and he's beating the line movement. If you're a premium member, you saw that his lock of the week this week was not a human being, but it was a round line under. He had Barbosa and Belbita under 2.5, and he got it at plus 165. And we told the world. We sent a push notification through the app. We said, hey, world, look at this bet that Jakey Boy's got going on. It ended up being his lock of the week, and it ended up not only hitting, but wasn't even close. If you want to check out every single pick betting tool, WeWantPicks.com. Here's a closer look at what you will access for that $10. It's $10 for an entire month. That month will get you UFC 314, which is this weekend. It'll get you UFC Kansas City. It'll get you UFC Des Moines, which is a card that a lot of people are excited for. And I'll tell you right now, this new UFC Kansas City main event, the Ian Gary Carlos Prates main event instead of the Khalil Roundtree one, is a better main event. We all were probably rooting for Jamal Hill to get smoked again and just shut up permanently. But I'll take this main event because this one actually matters for the division. The last one didn't. For $10, an entire month, you'll get every pick, every bet, every tool. WeWantPicks.com. And if you have the app, we will send you push notifications. This is how you beat the line movement, guys. You get a notification on your phone through the app that says, hey, bro, we just placed a bet. And then you can open it up, take a look at that bet, and if you like it, great. If you don't, you put your phone back down, you go back to taking your shit, whatever you were doing. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. Let's talk about the fights. The fights were decent. They were not amazing. And like I said, I was at the daddy-daughter dance. Full, nice garb, looking good, like getting waves and winks from everybody. So I didn't watch every single fight with full attention like I normally do, but I did see every single fight. This fight was a bit surprising. And thank God I avoided this fight, because if Vanessa ended up being like a plus 160 dog, I would have bet her. And thank God I didn't, because she kind of sucks. Like, she kind of sucks. She didn't do dick all. struggled to defend the takedown, struggled to get up off bottom, and we knew if Talita Alencar could get it to the ground, it would be a problem, right? We knew Talita had good grappling. If she got down, she would have unbelievable control. I never thought Vanessa would be submitted. That over 2.5 was very, very safe. But I was surprised at how little defense Vanessa had when it came to defending the takedowns. I was surprised at how little she was able to do on the ground. Like, I don't know. I just thought that she would be able to slug it out in the pocket and make it kind of ugly on the feet, and then Talita's takedowns would just be worse and worse and worse as the fight went on. That's not what happened. She just sort of pushed Vanessa around, took her down. No, not a problem in the world. No issues whatsoever on the Talita side. She was never in any danger, never worried, just ran right through this chick. And that sucks for Vanessa because that's a couple losses in a row, and the last one she had an excuse. This one, no excuse. And now she's what, 2-3 in her last 5? That's not great, especially because Vanessa's got some dog in her and she could fight. But if you can't defend takedowns at this level against somebody who's pretty one-dimensional, that's going to be a problem for the rest of your career. So Talita gets it done. We still haven't seen that like insane world-level jiu-jitsu they keep teasing us about, but she was able to move forward. We have seen improvements in the hand, and the takedowns look better than they did last time. So Talita Alencar, somebody we've been critical on in the past, is improving at a pretty spectacular rate because Vanessa's not an actual bum. Like, yeah, if you only watch that fight, you're like, this girl sucks. But she has been around for a long time. She's got some good high-level wins. She's not somebody you're just going to run through and finish. And Talita basically ran through her. Didn't finish her, but basically ran right through her. Then we had Martin Buday taking on Uran Satybaldiev on short notice. And when I say short, this is 2 days short notice. There was probably, no joke, a 50-pound weight difference between these two gentlemen. Literally, a 50-pound weight difference between them, and it matters. I mean, Buday didn't look bad. He looked pretty good, meaning I'm not factoring in the short notice. I'm talking about like physically. He didn't look bad. He looked pretty good. And at one point, Jacob sent me a text. It was like, dude, we might have dodged a bullet with Kennedy Nzechukwu because Martin might have beaten him. And then, I don't know, was that the third round, the end of the second? We saw Buday get rocked bad. He got hit. Not only did he get rocked bad, the way he reacted to it was insane. He got cracked, and instead of like, oh shit, and coming forward and like, you know, holding against the cage and trying to get his composure, he like bends over at the waist like he's picking up a nickel. And just looked like it made no sense. It was the weirdest reaction to like, I've ever seen. It was bad. But he did recover. He ended up winning. I had no bets on this fight whatsoever. Sam did bet this at plus money. And if you don't know what happened with the line movement here, they announced this new opponent, LFA champion, all those things. And then that guy was the big favorite. Martin Buday was, Martin Buday was, Martin Buday was an underdog. And then the line went whoop, and Martin Buday became a big favorite. And it makes sense because right off the rip, people were like, ooh, a former LFA champion? Oh, look at the odds. He's 9-0. He's undefeated. Well, I'm going to bet this guy. And then people were like, what are you, fucking stupid? Martin Buday's got 50 pounds on the dude. He was already in the fight camp. He was ready. Like, no, dude, no. And then everybody bet on Martin Buday, and then that full swung to favorite. If you got Martin at plus money, you were feeling good about yourself other than the getting dropped. The getting dropped, though, is concerning because this dude is way smaller than you. You were sort of pushing him around, bullying him. He got dropped late. It's not like it was early when that dude was fresh. So Martin Buday is somebody we got to keep an eye on in the future because if he's fighting somebody with real power, it could be of concern because in a fight that you're dominating, that you're very clearly winning, to get dropped like that in the third, his reaction was terrible. It's not like he got rocked and figured it out. Like, I told you, he was bending. Weirdest thing I've seen in a while. Martin Buday, decent fighter. We got to keep an eye on him in the future. We'll see Uran, what he looks like in his next fight. I don't want people to fall into that trap that we have all fallen into in the past where somebody looks decent in a UFC debut short notice loss. Oh, Jordan Vucenic, ring a bell? Looks good in a loss. And then their next time out, everybody's like, oh, this dude's good. Remember how good he looked on short notice? This is a full camp. He'll look better now. Willie? Did Jordan? We'll keep an eye on Uran in his next fight. Better not be at heavyweight. I mean, he could probably fight middleweight. Anyway, Martin Buday got the win. If you got a plus money bet on him like Bet Sam did, great bet. 90% of the time he looked like he was worth it. Then we had, here we go, a UFC debut in Pedro Falcao, who lost, but looked good in that loss. And it was short notice, so everybody said, let's bet on him. Let's bet on him next fight. He's going to win this next fight. Let's bet on him. And did he win? No. So let's keep these things in mind, people. This is going back to what I just said about Uran. Look good in the loss, and the next time they're going to be like, ooh, he looked good in the loss. Let's bet on him. And that's what happened with Pedro. Pedro looked good in the loss on short notice, so people were like, let's bet on him. Luckily for you, Big Ange bet on him, but I did the point spread. I was like, he can win a round. And frankly, there might have been an argument to make that he won the fight. It was a wild back and forth fight. It was a fun fight. It was completely back and forth. Like, every single round seemed pretty 50-50. And it was just coming down to who was winning the second half of the round, because that's what's fresh in the judges' minds. And Victor was winning the second half of a good amount of these rounds. He would end up on top, wailing away, even though he spent the first half of that round getting backed up, getting taken down. This was a good old-fashioned slug fight. It was a lot of fun. Pedro's good. Pedro is good. He's got good cardio. He has no problem pushing forward, making something happen. The grappling looked good. He was taking Victor down. Like, Pedro looked good in this fight. Victor also looked decent. And it's tough because he's not young anymore. He's 37. He's not young, and he still has that cardio. He did look sloppy at times. Like, Victor looked sloppier than he should, considering his amount of UFC level fights. But this was just a good, fun back and forth fight. Pedro winning a single round is what paid the bills here. We had a half a unit on that plus 3.5 bet, and it looked good. It looked good. I wasn't worried about it. Overall, fun fight, meant nothing for the division, but we like this sport because they're just entertaining fist fights, and that's exactly what we got here. Pedro will get a third crack. He's 0 for 2 in the UFC. He'll get a third crack at it. I am curious to see what they do with him next. They might just say, all right, well, you lost 2 in a row. You're not ready for this level. Here's a young prospect who's going to beat the brakes off of you, and we'll promote him instead. Or they'll give him a winnable matchup. I don't know. UFC works in mysterious ways, but Victor Henry just squeaking by wins and just kind of making his checks and moving forward. I don't know. When you're 37 years old and there's really no chance you're going to fight for a belt, you just kind of show up, have some fun, and make your money, and that's what Victor Henry's doing. So it was an entertaining fight, and I'll take it. Then we had Loma Lookboonmee looking like absolute dog shit. Pausing so you can process that information. Loma Lookboonmee was, minus 900 come fight night? And before this week, Jacob texted me and said, hey, your safety parlay next week should be Loma and Dione. And I was considering it. And the only reason I didn't bet it is I was waiting to see what happened at UFC Mexico. I was waiting for that safety parlay to hit before I was making a decision on the next safety parlay. Because if that safety parlay missed, 0% chance I was putting 2 women in a safety parlay. But that one hit, and then I was like, you know what, I should do this. And by the time I went to do the Loma and the Dione safety parlay, the odds were kind of gone, and I was like, all right, forget it. I'll find something else. And I did find something else in that hit. And thank God I didn't. I mean, it would have won because Loma technically won this fight, but she looked like shit. She looked like shit. She wasn't doing as well in the grappling as we expected. She wasn't doing as well in the striking. And that's sort of what I talked about all week. I said, if you guys think Istela sucks and you think she's going to run through Loma, you're out of your mind. Istela is a very good striker. Luckily, Loma's got some wrestling. Loma's got some grappling. She'll probably get this to the ground, and she'll win that side. And that is kind of what she had to do, and that wasn't great. She's reaching behind for side headlocks. Dude, Loma looked like absolute dog shit. We cannot forget how bad she looked. She got by the skin of her teeth. Don't look at the scorecards. The scorecards were bullshit. I think one judge had her winning 30-27. That was no 30-27 performance. Now, Istela is going to be cut. That is 5 losses in a row. Like, she's gone. Bye-bye. So Loma Lookboonmee barely beats somebody who could not win a single fight in the UFC, and that was at minus 900. We need to remember so that she doesn't catch us in some bullshit trap next time. She's like regressing. Loma Lookboonmee looked unbelievable on her feet early in her UFC career. Then she added wrestling. We saw some dog. Like, she was progressively getting better. And then this fight, I thought she looked like shit. And maybe I'm being especially harsh because I was watching all of these fights on mute. Because I'm at the daddy-daughter dance. We went to dinner. We went to somebody's house after. So I watched every single fight on mute. which sometimes is freeing. I don't need your bullshit narrative. I don't care what you have to say. I know what I'm seeing with my own eyes, and what I saw was Loma looking like shit. We need to remember this. We cannot, next time she's out, just be like, man, Loma's good. The same narrative as before, because she's either regressing, maybe it's a bad fight camp. I don't know. We'll see who her next opponent is, but if it's anybody kind of tough, fade. Rhys McKee got his first UFC win, and I'm good with it because I bet on Rhys McKee. Big Ange bet on Rhys McKee. I did an inside the distance decision, no action. The logic there was this dude's a solid underdog, but he is wildly dangerous and very durable. So if he loses, he's just going to get the shit kicked out of him and he'll lose a decision. I'll get a full refund. If he wins, he will win by finish. And that's exactly what happened. Credit, though, to the other side in Daniel Frunza. Daniel Frunza took a savage beating. Just got the absolute shit kicked out. He got dropped like 6 times. Literally. Punch, drop. Got back up. Punch, drop. Got back up. He got the absolute shit beaten out of him, and he just kept moving forward until ultimately the doctor was like, all right, yeah, no, we're done. We're done. You are going to be brain dead like Rocky in Rocky 5. We are done here. No more punches to the face. But Rhys McKee looked good. And that's sort of what I talked about in the quick pick video. Like, hey, Rhys McKee's not as bad as you think he is. Oh, his UFC debut, Khamzat Chimaev. Then he loses a close decision to Alex Morono. Then he comes back, loses to giant-ass Chidi Njokuani. Loses to incredibly fast Angelo. Like, Rhys McKee has just had a tough run. They finally gave him somebody that wasn't an established UFC guy, and he showcased. I don't know what's going to happen with him next. I don't know if they're going to continue to like, hey, let's invest in this kid. Let's see where he's going to go. But he looked good in this fight. He is very hittable, though. The fact that he had Daniel Frunza on ice skates 99% of this fight, and he still was getting his head snapped back is crazy. Crazy. Rhys McKee is way too hittable, but offensively, he's good. He is very dangerous offensively because he came in here striking. Not like that last fight where he thought he was a wrestler. He let his hands go, he felt free, and he looked pretty good doing it. So good for Rhys McKee. And anybody who's betting on these UFC debuts at crazy money needs to be reminded that's an insane thing to do. Pedro Falcao, not technically a UFC debut in this matchup, but there was a lot of money coming in there, a winless guy in the UFC. Daniel Frunza making his UFC debut. The only UFC debut that actually did pretty well was Torrez Finney, and we'll talk about that mess in a minute. Then we hit Jacob's underdog lock of the week, and it wasn't Dione, because Dione, her odds went nuts. It was the under 2.5. And him and I both had the exact same logic. The logic was Dione Barbosa is taking her career seriously. Dione Barbosa is a professional fighter who treats her body the right way and trains and does all the things. Where Diana Belbita doesn't give a fuck about shit. She's not a fighter. She's not a fighter. She was like a pretty kickboxer. And then came in the MMA, had some success because 3, 4, 5 years ago, there weren't like killers. And now here they are. And you're going to get somebody like Dione Barbosa who trains her ass off all day, every day. And then take on Diana Belbita who's like, after the UFC, I'm going to open a gym. No, dude, no. And Dione just beat the piss out of her. Outstruck her, took her down, submitted her. Just absolute beat the shit out of her. Wasn't even close. And that is the difference between part-time and full-time. That is the difference between I am a professional MMA fighter versus like, I'm pretty and I'm going to hi-ya my way to a win. Like, no, you're not. You're going to get the absolute shit kicked out of you. And that is what happened. Then we had Torrez Finney. Couple of things, right? Tiny little dude and jacked, but tons of cardio. And thank God he's got tons of cardio, because without that cardio, he full-blown sucks. The cardio is what keeps Torrez sort of relevant, if you will. This is why he fought 3 times on the Contender Series. Everybody's like, why was UFC not signing him? Because he's boring as shit. That's why. Dude, Torrez Finney fights suck. And everybody, listen, I fell into this trap. I had him in the safety parlay. Because I was like, dude, he's short, he's jacked, he's compact, and he's got cardio. He should be able to just outwork Robert Valentin. He should be able to avoid any weird submissions. And that is exactly what happened. And the fight wasn't close. And we'll talk about that scorecard in a second. The fight wasn't close. But Jesus, is this dude boring as fuck all. Oh, he finished somebody on the Contender Series and finished a bunch of non-UFC bums before he made his way to the UFC? Fine. In the UFC, boring. And I understand Robert Valentin is like a tough guy to fight because he is wild on the feet, wild on the ground. But Torrez literally ducks his head and just runs forward. The referee was like, this fight sucks. I'm separating you two. Please throw a punch. Did Torrez? No. Ducked his head, ran forward like a bull, got him against the cage, took him down. Same thing. Ref's like, this is boring. Please fight. And Torrez refused to fight. I mean, there is no faster way to lose fans than to be desperate, boring grappling. And I understand if you got cracked and you're wobbled and you're desperate grappling for your life. I get it. But that was just the game plan. The game plan was run forward like a boring asshole. Like in training camp, they they dressed one dude up like a matador, and they're like, all right, Torrez, come on. Come get it. And then he would put his head down and run forward. And then they would turn around and do it again and again and again. And he executed on that game plan perfectly because he literally was just lowering his head and running forward. And the only reason it didn't work out really bad for him is because Robert Valentin can't defend a takedown to save his fucking life. What an absolute dork that guy is. I just don't understand at this level to make no adjustments in the fight, to not be able to defend takedowns when you are fighting in the largest fight promotion on planet Earth is crazy. Torrez is boring as fuck, but we'll see where he goes. Maybe he just needed to get that first UFC win out of the way. Maybe that's all this is. Hey, I just need to get the win. I just needed a win. I got the win. Now I will fight the right way. But if they're not working with him in fight camp on his strike, like all aspects of MMA, this dude, he's eventually going to fight somebody that can defend a takedown or two, and it's going to be a problem. That's it. It's going to be a problem at some point. If he fights one of the bigger 185-pounders that has good takedown defense, what the hell is he going to do? His striking is atrocious. And the only reason he's having success is because he's so jacked and has such great cardio, people can't stop him. Also, there was a 30-27 fight scorecard. Watch the fight. There's no world where Torrez Finney lost this fight 30-27. No world. No. There's a better argument that he won the fight 30-27. So the judge who scored for Robert Valentin 30-27 said he won all 3 rounds, even though he spent, what was it, the first round, 99% of it on his back with no real anything. That judge needs to be fired immediately, needs to be investigated. Let's check his bank account. Let's check his browser history. And not for kid stuff, but for gambling stuff. Like, that is one of the worst scorecards we've seen. And thank God it did not affect the outcome of this fight. Torrez is boring as fuck, but he won this fight. He won the fight. And he should have won the fight. I don't think anybody was curious. How there was a question who won this fight or not is insane. But that judge who scored it 30-27 for Robert literally needs to lose his license and be investigated. That is nuts. It's not like it was back and forth, and maybe you're like me where you think, certain things matter nowadays when damage is the only thing that matters. Maybe. But there was no damage here. Robert Valentin did not, he threatened with a triangle for 8 seconds, an armbar for a half a second. There's no world where Robert won all 3 rounds. No world whatsoever. That's an atrocious scorecard and a very real problem. And the thing is, it's just going to nobody's going to give a fuck because the right person won the fight, right? So nobody's going to care. But that is a very rogue scorecards like that are a huge problem. Huge problem. Then we had Ode Osborne with a little bit of redemption. He came into this fight on a pretty bad losing streak. I and many others were like, he's probably done at this point. Like, he's obviously very talented. He almost won his last fight. He had Lazy Boy 99% knocked out, but didn't capitalize on it. Ended up getting out grappled. And it looked like this was heading down that path. Because Luis Gurule, undefeated Luis Gurule, was out grappling Ode. And it's like, dude, Jesus Christ, how are you fighting at this level and you cannot defend the takedowns? How? And that's the path we were on. I mean, Luis Gurule was winning this fight. He was winning with forward pressure and grappling. And then, in the second round, Ode Osborne let his hands go, left hook, bang, dropped the dude, finished him. And a reminder that 2025 is absolutely wild for undefeated UFC newcomers. Undefeated fighters in general, and then undefeated newcomers are dropping like flies. So anybody who is blindly betting on these wild, undefeated UFC newcomers without any real sort of logic and reasoning, is an idiot. I had that bet on Torrez Finney, but Torrez Finney was fighting a guy that has not won in the UFC. He was fighting somebody who we just watched get out-wrestled, and Torrez Finney is a wrestler. So yes, he was an undefeated UFC newcomer, but there were some logical steps that got me there. I sat in this chair looking as good as ever last week and said, do not bet on Luis Gurule. He's an undefeated UFC newcomer. They've been dropping like flies. And even though Buday is on this losing streak, he is still a UFC caliber guy who has wins at this level, and he can pull something off. And that's exactly what he did. Buday Osborne looked pretty good. I'm glad he got back in the win column. It would have sucked if he lost his fight because then they would have cut him. And he's too good to not be in the UFC. He's ever going to be a UFC champion? Of course not. But he's too good to not be in the UFC. Great win for Buday Osborne. Luis Gurule, I don't know. Like, we have to see what his next matchup is because he not only lost his fight, he lost very convincingly. So, yes, he had moments of success, and then it was all downhill from there. So, we'll see what his next matchup is, but I don't know what it is about 2025, but these undefeated UFC newcomers not having any success. Then we had a pretty straightforward Brad Tavares and Jared Mearshart. Jared looked better than a lot of people thought he would look. He came forward, and what you have to appreciate about Jared Mearshart is he will just say, fuck it. And he'll just bomb away on the feet. If he gets knocked out, he gets knocked out. He's not afraid to get knocked out, I'll tell you that much. And if it happens, he does not care. Like, all right, well, I'm going to go out swinging. So good on Gerald for moving forward, trying to make stuff happen. And Brad Tavares did what you expect him to do. He's a little older, a little battle-tested, a little worn out, but he was defending the takedowns. He was letting his hands go. He was piecing up Gerald. Brad Tavares was the better fighter. He looked like the better fighter, but Gerald fights like a man. No idea what they're going to do with Gerald here. I'm sure he'll be in the UFC for a couple more fights, and this was, I don't have a lot to say about this fight. It was pretty straightforward. Like, it was more fun than I thought it was going to be. I thought it would be Brad just sort of dancing around a little bit. It was more fun than I thought it was going to be because of Gerald pushing that pace, not afraid to engage, but this went as we expected it to go. And then we had Chang Ho Lee taking on Cortavius Romeus. And this was tough because Cortavius Romeus, he was an underdog that I liked on this card. And he just was right there the whole time. Like, if he came out here and got absolutely smoked because he sucks, that'd be one thing. But he doesn't. He is good. The talent is there. You saw it. You saw it. He was having moments of success. He would win a scramble and then do some dumb shit and lose a scramble. He would have success striking and then just do some dumb shit. Like, his issue was he's too wild. All the talent is there. All the ability is there. He just needs to, I don't want to say slow it down because his speed, his aggression is part of what makes him good, but he just needs to be more thoughtful about what he's doing. Blind aggression is not his friend because that's where he's starting to make dumb mistakes, chasing things, falling off, sliding the wrong way. Cortavius lost this fight because of blind aggression and bad decisions. He still can do well. He just needs to learn from this. Chang Ho Lee got it done. I mean, beat the shit out of Cortavius in mount, like got on top and just absolutely worked. And good for him because when your opponent's going to make stupid mistakes, it is on you to capitalize on that. And that's exactly what Chang Ho Lee did. Both of these guys, to me, are decent prospects. They both have to shore some things up because, honestly, if Cortavius was a little more controlled, I felt like he potentially could have won this fight or at least had some more success. Chang Ho Lee looked decent, was able to capitalize on the mistakes. The wrestling looked okay. The busyness on top is what really looked great. I love the old school ground and pound. So good on Chang Ho Lee for making it happen. And Cortavius, as long as he can come out here improved, not just more of the same, he can do well at this level. Then we had... thank God I avoided this fight like the plague. I sat in the... God damn, did I give you a lot of great advice last week. I sat in this chair and I said, do not bet on Joanderson Brito. Do not throw Joanderson Brito in a bunch of parlays because this fight feels like a trap. And I ultimately went down the rabbit hole of like, I'm going to pick Joanderson. But picks and bets are not the same thing. Do not bet on this fight. Joanderson Brito has shown that if he gets taken down, he's pretty fucking useless. And that's what we got here. He was useless on the ground. Pat Sabatini, all he had to do was not get knocked out. And that's what he did. He came forward, didn't get knocked out, was able to get the fight to the ground. And once it got to the ground, Joanderson Brito was useless. Hanging on to that bullshit guillotine. Oh, you submitted one blind wrestler a year ago with that guillotine? Let's go back to the well over and over and over. And it is, dude, this sport is wild. This is why we love this sport. Joanderson Brito, 6 months ago, was the most dangerous guy in this division. 5-fight win streak, 5 stoppages in a row, just running through people. And now he lost his last fight, or 2 fights ago at this point, which was all right, like not a great loss, like meaning the decision I felt was pretty bad. You could argue. And then he came in this fight, looked fucking clueless. Looked absolutely clueless. Nothing to offer on the ground. He was too used to running through people that when he couldn't run through somebody, nothing to offer. And good on Pat Sabatini. Because Pat Sabatini is the perfect embodiment of somebody working with what they have. His chin is not very good. It's not a good chin. So he can't control that. God gave him the chin. You can't control your chin. What he can control, though, is the shape that he's in, the skills that he's learning, and all of that stuff. And he was in phenomenal shape. He has no problem with a wrestle-heavy game plan, and that's what he did, and he executed on it well. Good on Pat Sabatini. Jakey Boy had a bet on him. Bet him straight up at decent plus money. Betting Joanderson never made sense in this fight. I am so glad I didn't do it. Sometimes what happens is I'll sit here on a Thursday, a Wednesday, be like, I don't have enough bets. And then I'll force it. Oh, you know what? This should happen. And then I'll throw a couple bets and then whatever. And I'm so glad I did not do that this week because Joanderson was a fringe guy where I was like, he should win. And we saw he's got cardio in his last fight. He should win. And thank God I didn't go down that rabbit hole. Pat Sabatini looked great. I don't know what's next for Joanderson. You got to be very careful if you're at the UFC what you do with that. Okay, I think I'm having a stroke. You have to be very careful if you're the UFC when you decide what to do with Joanderson next. Because you could give him another good guy and now he'll lose 3 in a row. Or you could say, listen, Joanderson's exciting. He's a fun dude. He's a finisher. He's the exact type of guy we need in the UFC to just put on entertaining fights. Let's give him a fight he can win. Unfortunately, UFC doesn't typically go down that route. They're just like, fuck him. Give him some young stud that can wrestle. They're going to give him a D1 wrestler next for no reason whatsoever, and he's going to lose 3 in a row. Main event of the evening. Listen, again, I watched this with no audio. I watched it on mute. We were out at people's house. We had the daddy-daughter dance, and then we went out, and I have to watch the fights. And it looked like a back-and-forth fight. Like, this looked dicey. I didn't know who was going to win this fight. I was intently watching my phone to see whose hand would be raised. This felt close. I'm curious if you guys who sat like in front of a television watched it the right way with commentary, if it felt that close or if it was just like, nah, dude, it must have just been, you were half paying attention, whatever. What I will say, good on Josh Emmett for going back to his wrestling roots. Josh Emmett is a guy that has high-level wrestling, knocked a few people out, and then just abandoned his wrestling forever. And then he went back to it in this fight. And that's a wise decision. It didn't necessarily benefit him when the hands were raised, but it was a wise decision. Good on him. Bad on Lerone Murphy. Lerone Murphy didn't look that great to me. He just did not look great. Now, what was good is the get-up game. He got taken down, never got frustrated, got right back up. But I don't think he was as aggressive as he should have been in the striking. And I get Josh Emmett's got some power. He's a little scary. But Lerone Murphy should have been able to absolutely dot him up. You're twice as fast as the dude. You're half his age. You should be cleaner, faster, bigger, stronger, all of those things. And it was way closer than it needed to be. And it wasn't just close because of the wrestling. Good thing is Lerone Murphy cut him early. There was some blood there. Judges love to see blood. So there was some blood. And ultimately it felt like these rounds were close. But Lerone was able to squeak it out because when he was taken down, he never settled, popped up, was young, energetic, and he won with some youth, good old-fashioned youth. But I didn't leave this fight, again, watching on mute, I didn't leave this fight being like, Lerone Murphy, that's a dude, he's 16-0. That's a great fucking record. 16-0 with a bunch of those wins in the UFC is a phenomenal record. And I didn't leave this fight being like, we got to talk about who's fighting for the title. I was like, all right, another Lerone Murphy win. So I don't know what they're going to do with him next. Like they have to, honestly, I feel like he's going to get that Bilal treatment. And it's Sucks for him because he's a striker, not a boring wrestler. But I think he's going to get that Bilal treatment. They're just going to keep giving him good fighter after good fighter, and he's just going to have to beat basically everybody to earn himself a title shot. Lerone Murphy, he's in a tough spot because he's good. He's 16-0. He's good, but he's just like right there. He's not quite exciting. He's not unbelievable. He's just good and a little bit better than every one of his opponents. Overall, got the win, moved up the rankings. I think he's now officially ranked 8th in the world. Is that what Josh Emmett was ranked? So he's ranked top 10 in the world. And now he's got to really start to crank something up into the next gear, because once you're ranked at that level, you're not going to get some bum. Now you're fighting top 10 people in the world. So good for Lerone Murphy. 2 main events, 2 main event wins. The takedown defense was okay, but the get-up game was absolutely spectacular. So I'm being critical because he fought a 40-year-old and it looked like kind of squeaked by. But overall, good job to win this main event. You're ranked in the top 10 now. Lerone Murphy, 16-0. That's the breakdown, guys. If you want a couple of bucks, we'll send you a couple of bucks. We made a ton of money last night, so hopefully if you were a premium member, you did too. But if you didn't and you want 50, WeWantPicks.com/bet. Sign up, make a deposit. We'll send you 50 bucks as a thank you. And then after that, go to the website. Go to WeWantPicks.com. You'll unlock every single pick, bet, and tool. We have all of our picks and bets on the website for UFC 314 ready to go right now. We also have tools that will help you win. We have tools that help you do research. We have tools that build DraftKings fantasy lineups for you. We have everything you could ever want or need, and it's $10. 10. 2 5s. WeWantPicks.com.